All right. Good morning, everybody. Master Sergeant Hawkins from the Professional Development Committee for the Top 3. I'm also your guys' Career Assistance Advisor here at the 9RW. Today we got a very important topic we decided we'd like to cover. It's going to be Pride in the uniform. And with me today I have Staff Sergeant Taylor White, who is the FTAC NCOIC. We will also be joined. Oh, are we being joined? Yay! We're also being joined by newly found out.
Can't talk
about it. Fine, we're not talking about it. But Sergeant Burnham's here. So with that, I'm gonna give it over to them, and they're gonna talk to you guys about Pride in the uniform.
Absolutely. Sir White, did you already introduce yourself? All right. So hi everybody. I'm Technical Sergeant Burnham. My unit here is the 427th. I was a former 1 in 3. Came in back in 2006, back when Don't Ask, Don't Tell was still a thing. When I was a linguist in Korea, there were, a lot of experiences that I'll get into in a little bit. But shortly after, I decided that I wanted to retrain. So now I'm a 1 and 0, and I just love the job that I'm doing now. And so let me just hand it over to Sergeant White so she can introduce herself.
Good morning. As Sergeant Hawkins said, my name is Staff Sergeant Taylor White. I am currently the FTAC NCOIC, but before I took that position, I was a broadcast journalist over in public affairs. So some of you might recognize me from that world. I'm also pretty involved in Women's Equality Day committee stuff. So anyone on here that's been a part of those committees, chances are we've worked together in that environment. I've been in the Air Force for about 7.5 years, and this is my 4th assignment plus a deployment in that 7.5-year time frame. So I've been around the world and back again, literally, and seen a lot of stuff along the way, and really excited to dive into this topic because it's something that's really near and dear to my heart, personally, and amongst a lot of personal friends that I have. So. Sergeant Burnham, you want to run with your presentation?
Yes, we've got one more introduction. I also want to introduce Captain Leahy. He is one of our amazing captains that works in the 605th at 3. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Captain Altman Leahy. I am a combat systems officer, and I joined in 2014. I'm currently at the 605th TES Det 3 as a test and evaluator, and previous CSO on the EC-130s. Give it back over to you, Cap.
No, doesn't look like it.
We can't hear you, sir.
Are you not able to hear me?
Yeah, I heard you just fine, sir. I think there's a user, Corey Jarvis, with a hot mic, I believe.
Sergeant Burnham, hear me now on there?
His computer sounds.
Hey, Corey Jarvis, somebody at that position, you've got a hot mic.
Well, since we are having sound difficulties, I think we're going to go ahead and continue. All right, so please go ahead and click the slide. Oh, I'm not sure. Can they hear what we're saying?
You can hear us. I can chat.
If you can hear us, can you please just let us know in the chat so we know that the audio is at least working from us to you?
I hear you.
Want to let us know? I see some people I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Word. Thank you, Chief.
All right, so back when I came in, back in 2006, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was still very prevalent in the Air Force. The original legislation was passed back on December 21st in 1993, and it wasn't reversed all the way until 2011. So, what year did you come in?
I came into the Air Force in 2013.
2013.
So
also,
we were out and
yes,
proud.
so back when I was going through language school, it was a really, really rough time to be in the Air Force and be gay. I could not be out. I'm bisexual, so I could not be out. I could not be with a woman at all. It was very scary. If I were to be caught, I could have been kicked out at any point in time. One of my really good friends, he was a Green Rope, right? And he was a leader to all of us. He was amazing at Chinese, but someone had a vendetta against him, and they decided that they were going to out him. And what happened to him was they did a thorough, formal investigation. They determined that he was gay, and then they discharged him. And unfortunately, that happened so many times to so many people back in those days, back in 2007, 2008. It was just a scary time for a lot of people. And then on the other hand, too, if people felt like they didn't fit in, too, they could actually come out and say, hey, I'm gay. I don't want to stay in the military anymore. I don't think this is a good fit for me. And then that was kind of a way that people could also get out. My friend, when I was stationed in Korea, I remember this very well because he was so terrified of coming out that he got all of his, his toys and things, and he hid them in my wall locker during a health and wellness inspection. He was just terrified that he was going to get caught. He had all of his stuff, and he didn't even come back for like a week. I was like, bro, you need to get your stuff out of my closet.
Literally out the closet. Get it out.
Exactly. So, and then once the legislation passed, it was just so much better. It was so much easier. 2011, like, you could be out finally. There's always been kind of a stigma associated with being gay and being in the military. And part of the reason, I think, why they passed the legislation in the first place is because of all of the discrimination against gay people, So what do you think about all this stuff? I know it was pre your time.
I was a senior in high school when it happened, and I'm from Massachusetts, so, like, the LGBTQIA community is alive and well where I'm from, so it was rainbow flags, celebration, like, everyone was really excited, and it made me feel more comfortable when I made the decision to join, because for me, I identify as pansexual, and all through growing up, like, I had a girlfriend in high school, but I still liked, like, other people from all sorts of demographics, and for me, it wasn't about, I always tell people, like, I don't care what you're working with, I care about if we connect. And so people would say, oh, so that makes you bisexual. I was like, well, that's not necessarily, because bi means two, right? We're attracted to two sexes, but I didn't care about any of that, like if you are trans or asexual or intersex or any, like, you know what I mean? If we click, we're cool. And so when the definition of pansexuality came out and there was a little bit more freedom to figure out who you were and how you identified and how that worked for you, I know that was really hard for me in the military community because it's like, okay, when I came in, it was LGBT, and then LGBTQ, and then LGBTQIA, and then I was getting really pissed off at the jokes that were like, oh, you need the whole damn alphabet just to, all those kinds of comments and things, and I was like, well, if you're intersex and asexual, then you don't fall under the LGBT umbrella, but you're not in standard cis, like, straight. Binary. Yeah, exactly. You don't fall under that umbrella either, so it's about creating the inclusion of it, which is why I think stuff like this is so cool, because there are people listening that might not even know what the IA is, or what pansexuality is, or demisexual, or anything like that. And that's the next step, in my opinion, we need to take is, okay, we're cool with LGBT, LGBT,
maybe,
yeah,
Q.
we're good with that, but
What is the Q and the IA?
Questioning.
yeah.
So
So if you're exploring,
A is asexual. What is I?
intersex.
Intersex.
So if you're born with both. Yeah.
And then pan, and then there's what's demi?
Demi is I would have to look it up. I know that pan is personality, and I think that demi is more like emotion, not so much like how you click as a person, but just
But
like
more
where
your
you're.
emotional.
Yeah.
Self.
It's just another kind of way to look at it. And if there's any demi person tuning in, please feel free. I don't know.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
If there's any
Let me know.
definition that ends up, not quite fitting, please make sure to type it in the chat or just say it out loud. So Captain Leahy said that everybody else could hear him.
Yeah.
But we couldn't.
Yeah, we're having problems hearing on our end, so if you guys could just type in the comments, that would help us out.
So, Captain Leahy, we would also like to hear your perspective on this. So, go ahead and speak about how you feel about the old Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy, and then just let me know when you're finished speaking so that we can move on to the next section, sir.
All right, thanks, Kat. Again, this is Captain Leahy. So previously, before I got into it, I was a police officer. I came out in 2007, and the thought of wanting to get into the military was a challenge for me because I was going to be walking into something that made me walk backwards, basically, to go back into the closet. So as I graduated from college, I decided to go be a police officer and a detective. And I did that for 5 years, and then I actually wanted to be a load master for the hurricane hunters, and somebody convinced me to go rated and go fly. So I decided to go active duty. But I will say, though, that one of my concerns that I talked with a recruiter about was how Don't Ask, Don't Tell, though being repealed, how it was still being received in the Air Force 3 years later. I joined in 2014. But to me, it was a big deal because if I was able to come out in Mississippi in my fraternity and then at my police department being the first open gay police officer, I wasn't going to walk myself back into a situation where I had to hide. So I was lucky to come into an Air Force that was repealed. Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed, and it was very open. I've gone through flight training. I've gone through a couple of squadrons, and not once have I had a problem. Not once have I encountered any discrimination based on my sexuality. And now I'm married to another captain, and we have had a amazing experience solely due to everybody's unfortunate discrimination up to that point, all the hard-fought battles all the way up until we both joined. He joined in 2013, I joined in 2014, so we got to reap the benefits of everybody fighting hard to have it repealed and to put the Air Force in the position that it's in now. So I'm grateful for that, and it has made the experience of serving in the Air Force way better than I could have imagined, and I hope better than what other individuals have had to go through in the past. So, and I think I got a text saying that you can hear me now, so I'm good. I don't text you now and tell you I'm done. So I'll take it back over.
Perfect. So let's move on to the next slide. So this is now, we're past 2011. We've all been able to come out of the closet, but guess what? We still can't get married. You can't be married in the military, and it didn't pass until 2013, which Yeah, lucky you. So that's when all the VAH benefits came out. That's when all the medical benefits came out. I remember a couple of my friends that were hoping to get covered by medical and go through IVF treatment that were denied the opportunity to be able to do that. A couple of my really, really close lesbian friends, they were just straight up denied, told, hey, you guys are not married, you guys can't go through IVF. And then as soon as that went through, as soon as we were able to all, you know, get married and have BAH and have medical benefits, it was like a huge sigh of relief for all of us in the community. It was amazing. And I honestly, I can't say I've ever seen like a happier time in the military than the day that really passed.
It's such a sad thought that for decades you had gay and lesbian couples that were like spending their whole lives together, and as a military member you can't provide the same benefit to pretty much your dependent spouse, but like not legally spouse. And children too. And children, and not being able to have them have the same benefits as straight couples, I think was a huge injustice. And thinking about all the people for decades that like had to go through that and not be able to take care of their families the same way as straight couples, like it's a really, really sad thing. So it's awesome that changed. Like I was a huge supporter of that. Like I love that idea once it came out and everything changed with the benefits.
It's the nuances you don't think of when you're a civilian versus when you're active duty, like what that means for a military family. And I think that it's what members of our trans community are going through right now. Like, I can't imagine falling under the T portion of our family right now because, like, can you safely be who you are in the service? I mean, we are, like Captain was saying, going back in the closet, kind of, you know, you have to roll back, and then those persons, like their dependents, their families, what does that mean for them, and just the level of uncertainty of being able to be out and then rolling back. How can we take care of those people still and be humans and be people? And I think that, I know that the LGBTQ community is very good about taking care of each other, but then standing up for each other around others that may not understand the community or what that can do to someone that's being told to roll back, something that's already extremely difficult to come out and say, and then shutting them down again, just giving them that emotional support.
I think like with all these diversity and inclusion talks that we've had over the past couple of weeks, it also takes people outside of that community to be supporters and take the time to learn, listen, and understand, and you know, back initiatives that help people. You know, we might not all live the same lives, we might not all walk the same paths, but we're all people, and we should all be tolerant of each other's differences and help lift each other up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did you have anything to add, sir?
Well, so I since I'm mil-mil, or you know, married mil-mil, I don't have a lot of these that are challenges for me. But I will say before I joined, one of multiple questions, because even though it was repealed back in 2011, and then 2013, the benefits started coming in. All of my friends and family back at home still didn't really get it. The public wasn't really getting a ton of that happiness, that I guess update on how things were going to be changing. But the biggest question to me was, well, are you going to be able to marry another guy and be able to be a family? Because we're a big military town where I was from, and I knew about all the benefits and everything that would come from that. Lo and behold, I ended up marrying a military person. But all of those things are a huge deal. And you know, I was just involved in an aviator Pride video just a few weeks ago, and the amount of people who are involved in that video that were either affected by Don't Ask, Don't Tell, or now part of this being able to have families. And one of my good friends who was in that video with me, she has a civilian wife, and they have 2 kids, and she's able to take care of them. And for the Air Force to be able to keep that individual, an individual, her, in this Air Force, and she is working on an amazing platform that's doing really great jobs deployed. And this benefit that was brought in 2013 with all the hard work of everybody before that is now being able to retain amazing combat ready individuals who are fighting the fight downrange and knowing that their family back at home is taken care of just like their straight partners on the plane. So it's awesome to see, and it's amazing to hear, and being able to talk with all of my peers, because it's making, I am going to stay in for 20 years because of all of my experiences I've had, and that is a big deal what the Air Force has done. And on the topic of which I was telling everybody, or talking about this with the people outside of our community, in one of our staff meetings during Pride Month, I gave the tip to all of my members in my school, my DADT, that you don't have to be a part of the community to have an impact. All you have to be is a person to lean on, to hear, to listen to, and it'll make a big difference. My last squadron, I got to mentor a senior airman who found out through the grapevine that me and at that time my boyfriend were dating, and they were excited because they didn't think that it was widely accepted. And so even today, though, people are still needing help to feel more comfortable. So, and that it's not just from our community, outside of our community, it needs to be a big deal. That way people feel comfortable, and that we can expose them to the happiness that's happening around us, and it makes them a better airman, and it makes the Air Force better.
And I think one way we can do that too, Captain, is if I say the F word, I think we all kind of know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like in the same regard that, you shouldn't say the N word, you shouldn't say the F word either, because if you're in a work environment and you're calling your friends that, or saying that they're acting like that, and you have someone in your unit that hasn't come out, or is closeted, or is scared, that has negative connotations with it. And in the same mindset that you're creating an unsafe work environment, you're doing that for that closeted airman, and for that airman that's trying to navigate their sexuality. And so figuring out the language and people that aren't from an environment that is LGBTQ friendly, might not know the damage that can have on someone that's closeted. So it's another instance of, if you hear that, intervene and speak up and say, not here, not today, not.
I'm actually super, super rude about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I cannot believe you said that. What year do you think this is?
Chief Larson, you see in the chat you said you have some thoughts on this topic. You want to take the floor, ma'am?
Yeah, I appreciate it. I enlisted in 1998, and shout out to Massachusetts. It was after I graduated from Smith College, so I went from the most supportive gay environment of a women's college to the Air Force, and so many people are coming out to themselves. I think even today that's true, in that 18 to 24 age range. And I definitely I was in Monterey, California, learning languages, in 1998, and seeing the witch hunts that were happening at that point in time. And a lot of it was people who were unsure about their sexual orientation at that point in time, or up to that point in time, move away from home and, figure things out on a personal level. I did like the focus you brought up on the Defense of Marriage Act. That was freaking huge. You talk about benefits, and the difference in BAH at Fort Meade, where I was stationed, was $500 a month for a married couple or a single person. And it's real easy to do quick math on $500 a month, and it was just, I remember being actually like really happy when Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed, and then really upset, because I feel like I had so many things just bottled up under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and it was just like, okay, can't express, that kind of stuff. And then it was like, oh, you can express who you are, but now we're going to institutionally discriminate against you, which obviously it was always happening. But, and just my civilian spouse, at the time did not have medical care. She was a pretty much a full-time student. Yeah, it was extreme. So anyways, I'll turn it back over to the panel.
Thank you for sharing, Chief. We really appreciate that. So if we go to our last slide before we just open the floor up. So we still have a long way to go in the Air Force, kind of like Sergeant White was talking about earlier. We've been seeing a lot of transphobia lately in the media, even from allies, people that we consider allies in the media, and really popular celebrities and things like that. It's a big problem, and right now, as far as I understand, we're not allowed to have trans people in the Air Force as of April of 2019. They're not allowed to join. I think the ones who have already come out are not being discharged, as far as I understand, but they're not allowed to have procedures. So any of the procedures that were previously covered, and that was only for, a very short amount of time, those are no longer being covered. So it was, I want to say, from about 2013 until 2016 was when we actually did cover procedures, which is a very, very short amount of time. That's only 3 years that trans people were allowed to be out and be who they wanted to be, and actually have that cosmetic surgery that, helped improve their quality of life. And with that, I feel like you said, Sergeant White, we have really taken some giant steps backwards as far as the trans community.
Even when things as simple as pronouns, like forcing people into a pronoun that they don't identify with, which is something that I think was really positive back a few years ago. Was I worked with someone who was transgender, and we would call her ma'am, and there was a respect. And then if people blatantly would, sir, and disregard her pronoun preference, it was kind of clear if that person was hateful towards the her identity and the movement as a whole. And that was really disappointing to see leadership, force male pronouns. And then as soon as she would go home, it was wig, makeup, like, all right, I'm ready to go out. And
she wasn't allowed to wear a wig at work? Oh my gosh.
So high and tight, like, you know what I mean? So, and that was really difficult to watch her navigate. And up until that point, I hadn't been close with a whole lot of people in the trans community. It's been exposed to the, like, just going to prides and things like that of, like you were saying, Chief, just the, rainbow all-inclusive state of Massachusetts, but being actually, like, friends, like, slumber parties, wine night, like, with someone as a community, I learned so much. And the step back that we took, I'm glad that she's no longer in the service, because I can't imagine what she would be feeling right now, being put back in that box. It's really disheartening to see, but we just have to support each other. Is my opinion on the bottom line of that.
Captain Leahy, do you have any thoughts on the subject?
Yeah, so while y'all were talking, the biggest thing that, and again, coming from an aviation community for my whole career, there were instances of just just acceptance just because it's a dynamic environment, and I guess the level of people that were, in the squadron and stuff like that. But the biggest thing that I kept running, not problem, but running into is sometimes it was the first time somebody meeting a gay person. They came from, their 21 or 20-year-old kid that was coming from a small town, and they went through training, though they probably encountered somebody from the community up during that point. They didn't really work with them or know them that well. So that's one thing that I learned about, and then we talked about that word that nobody should say. Sometimes they don't know better, and they don't, and they haven't had an encounter before. And, the more that we make it open and the more that we talk about it in a normal sense, sometimes that exposes the right amount of, I guess, information, comfortability to individuals that maybe they're not used to it. And then I think, not saying that will fix the problem, I'm just saying that I hate that we're having to do that now for the trans community or any other part of our community, that we're having to kind of take a couple steps back and kind of teach a little bit and say, this is part of the community, and this is who people are, and we will accept them and work alongside of them. And for example, I was flying downrange, and one of my crew members did say that word, and I corrected him, and we were an all-male crew that was flying that during those missions, and I told him, I was like, hey, I don't like that word, but I want to know a little bit about. And he was like, I had never really worked with or had any experience with anybody that was from the community, and all it took was a little education. So I was like, hey man, that's not a good word. I understand what you're trying to do just with your friends and stuff like that, but what if somebody on this crew right now is struggling about coming out? And boom, he was awesome about it the rest of the deployment, and we were having a good time after that. We found other jokes on how to go about having a good time on the plane, but it was about the education piece. And then after that, not a problem. He was super cool with everyone, and it just kind of opened up his eyes to there's more about this community than he knows. And so I think a lot of education and just making things normal could help. That is not as easy as it's said, but that's a part of, I guess, the steps that we can take. I don't know if that made sense.
No, absolutely, yeah.
I think it's in the Air Force, it's incumbent upon us as leaders, right, to make sure that we are constantly addressing those kinds of things when they happen, like not letting the F word slip, and creating an environment of tolerance when you have no idea what young airman is struggling with coming out or whatever, So if in my work center I'm allowing people to talk a certain way, that's definitely going to impact this young airman that I have to lead and get to execute the mission while their mind's occupied with something else, and how people view them if they knew that they were gay or lesbian or bi or anything else.
I'll say that I have always been a part of the gay community, but I used to show myself as an ally because I was afraid of coming out. And it was literally this year. This year is the first year that I ever actually came out of the closet and started telling a couple of people here and there. Now I'm, doing the WebEx and everything, but
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you. But it was terrifying regardless, being a female, there's that stigma that, you're bisexual, oh, whatever, you're just going through the phase.
Oh my God, that makes me so mad. Or when people say, oh, that's hot.
Yeah.
If you're dating a straight guy, it's oh, so that means you can bring another girl in here and you're cool with that. It's no, that's not what that means.
That's not what that means at all.
And that bothered me so much when I was dating. I could not, every single like,
it just kind of
straight
makes
dudes
it
think
harder,
that.
you know, it makes it harder for you to be accepted for exactly who you are.
Mhm.
And it's just, I don't know, kind of weird, I suppose.
Yep. Or you can't make up your mind, or those kind of comments as for what's coming up, bisexual and pansexual, but so you just can't make up your mind, or
Right.
yeah, it's like, no, I'm just rolling with it.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
And I don't need you to tell me how you feel about that. You know,
about who I am, and
my relationship is my business.
exactly.
And my first real relationship was with a girl in high school. And so, like, my parents were like, oh my, so are you a lesbian? And I was like, I don't think so, but, like, so? Like,
Does it matter?
And then I would have crushes on this person and that person and whoever, and I was like, okay. And then that's when I just stuck with the I do what I want identity of it. And then when I joined the Air Force and learned more about how sexuality as I don't want to call it a topic, but like as it was evolving into the different nuances of exploring your sexuality, that pan was a thing. I was like, ding, 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 ding.
Oh, that's me.
Here we go. This makes sense. Which is awesome that we're doing that. And because I know I'm not the only one that feels that way. But then another issue that I know I've run into is I married a straight man.
I did too.
And so it's like, so how can you say you're pan or bi when you just, went back to
being straight?
Yeah.
Yep.
How you're like naturally, you get people that like how you're naturally supposed to be with people. It's like, that's who I clicked with, and that's who I vibe with. Mm-hmm. And that could have just as easily been a woman or anyone else in the umbrella. And I'm very grateful to be married to a man that understands my sexuality and like what that means being a part of the community and being cool with it. But it's people from the outside that like know how you identify and then see where you landed and where you're comfortable, and they're like, so you're not really. And then it's like hate from inside the community too. So like, oh, so this was just a phase for you. You get people that feel that way, and that hurts because not only am I a part of it, but I've been a massive, advocate and ally and just doing everything I can to support my peers. And then that like shutdown of like, yeah, but not really. That hurts me just as much as before I was married, the, oh, that's hot kind of mentality of people around me that don't understand what it's like to explore that.
I can tell you that usually when people hear that I'm bisexual, what they take that as is that I'm not actually dedicated to my husband, that I'm just willing to go and sleep around with whomever. And it kind of comes across from people that don't understand as like a slut shaming type of thing. And it's really painful. And it's hard to like, that was the main reason that I did not want to come out of the closet at all. Like, I was afraid that all I was going to get was slut shamed for the rest of my life. And all of the, you're not actually gay, you're only...
You're just here for the rainbows and the pride parades and all that. Like, I read an article during Pride, I think it was last year, where it was bi women are ruining the pride parade or something. Like, we're just there for the fun. Like, everyone wants a gay best friend. Everyone's just there for the nuance of it. And I'm like, man, like, you're attacking your own. Like, we were talking about earlier how there's biases in the community towards transphobia. Doing the same thing in this regard. Like,
I have never experienced anything like that here, and I think that our community here is actually super awesome, and we're very supportive of each other. And I'm super proud to be a part of the Beal community here, because I think we're just building each other up and making each other stronger and better and everything.
With things like this too.
Exactly. Captain, do you have anything to add?
Just kind of a little bit on Dana, my husband, at first when we first met, came out as bi, and that was completely fine with me, whatever. And we started dating, and then he came out actually while we were at the beginning of us dating, and then slowly made his way through coming out. And I feel not out of place, but I have just had great experiences throughout the Air Force and at my last base that, it was well received, and they were, more surprised that we were together and happy for us than, and so I don't have too much experience on having the, individuals thinking that, taking me serious in the sense of that. I just I'm happy on where we've gone from what I heard when I originally was joining. So I'll talk a little bit more once we kind of wrap things up, and I don't want to take away from the discussion that y'all were having.
Good. Chief, did you have anything to add, ma'am? And thank you for thanking me.
Yeah, I just appreciate, as has been said, the community. One of the places I had the strongest Air Force community since tech school, I was actually at Shaw when the Defense of Marriage Act did go away, and it was organizing the first LGBT Pride celebration there, and it was like the month, and we had like 4 or 5 events, and to have really supportive base leadership, visibly come out to the events and support, and it was a lot of very young people who had enlisted after Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
Mm-hmm.
But then, with people who had been around longer and maybe like understood how to get fundraising going and, different things with the private organizations and stuff like that. So I agree, like the community is wonderful and supportive in so many ways.
Definitely. Right. So the only other topic that we have left to discuss is asexuality. It's kind of still a closet thing, I think, for a lot of people that are in the Air Force. I had a female that was in my victim advocacy class when I was going through it the first time, who was asexual. And when she was talking about her experiences, she was talking about how it's kind of also okay to be any other letter of the alphabet except for A, just because it's hard to understand for a lot of people. Asexuality is you don't really have a tendency to,
Be intimate.
Yes, I was going to go the vulgar route. Yes, thank you. So you don't want to be with anyone necessarily, and you don't really, do anything on your own either. It's just kind of, you're a person and you're doing your thing and you're doing whatever you want to do, and sexuality for you can be uncomfortable in some settings, and I felt like she was just the perfect victim advocate because she had that ability to kind of turn off the relation to sex, because rape really is about power and not about sex or intimacy. So she really just totally understood exactly what it was all about and could bring it up in a way that a lot of us have a bias about, like an unconscious bias, I want to say, but a lot of us, like in the sapper community, we feel like, sometimes it is about sex and it is about, because it was this person that I knew or however it happens, that, it's just harder to overcome that boundary where it crosses into it's no longer sex, it's just about power. Yeah. I've only ever known one.
Yeah, same. I've had one friend in England who is asexual, and he kind of related it to like your love languages. Like some people physical touch or words of affirmation, gifts, whatever. And he was like, all those other things are how I am intimate with my partner. Like, there's no need for the physical side of it. And for him, he was mostly attracted to men. He's like, so for me, like, there's no stress on, like, we want to procreate or have a kid or whatever. We just do all the other stuff that's fun for us and works for us, and that's that. But then if people that don't understand, your mind might automatically go to, what? Like, how do you not want to be with your partner like that? And that's just another way that we can explore the psychology of it, you know what I mean? And learning about each other and just asking those questions, because, like, you've only met one, I've only met one, and I've been pretty involved in LGBTQ groups since forever. So, like, I've only met one, so they're like diamonds, you know, they're rare. You're like, tell me about yourself, you know, which can be a blessing and a curse. You don't want to make that person feel uncomfortable and singled out, but the best way to learn is to ask and talk to someone. So,
I mean, I think as airmen, when it comes to this subject of sexuality, like, coming from a core flight line maintainer, right? Your sexual preference does not affect your ability to turn this wrench and make this airplane fly. Like, if you're straight or whatever, like, that's not it's not a skill to fix an airplane. That your sexual preference comes into play with that. So I think we have to make sure that we keep those kinds of things in mind as leaders, that people's sexual preference doesn't impact their ability to be in the Air Force, doesn't impact their ability to be a good intel troop or be a good dental tech or whatever. Like, we're all people. We all are learning, like, tactical skills and tangible skills to execute the mission, and we're not so different, you know, just because our sexual preferences are not the same. All people.
Yeah.
Well, we will open it up if anyone has anything else that they would like to talk about.
Hey, this is Captain Leggy. I think the biggest thing that when you were talking about members who identify as asexual, I kind of approached that just in the sense of how I have personally not met anybody who has identified as asexual, but that doesn't mean that I would change my demeanor on how I deal with it. I would just genuinely accept that person and talk with them and tell them about my experience, you know, tell them about my experience in the sense of how I've gone through my life and everything, and just make them feel comfortable. And I feel like that is just in the sense of what everybody needs to be like. And then also just kind of verbalize those. Like, I've had an amazing experience, like I've told y'all already, and I have no shame on saying that out loud. That way that, you know, maybe that one member that is asexual that I haven't met, or bisexual, sexual, will feel comfortable to talk to me. And I feel like as leaders or even as peers or allies, that is, I think, one of the most important things that we should strive for, is just to make it easy and open and comfortable for somebody to finally feel like who they are is okay and comfortable and accepted. You know, I told many of people about how my commanders back at my old base, and then the commanders here, because my husband was transferred out to Beale before I was able to come out, and this was before we were married, and they worked out a good move so that we could get married. We were planning on it. I proposed already. And I told people about that. That way, you know, a colonel who's talking to another colonel is arranging a good move for a family to come together for the Air Force. And that is a big deal. And I don't think that would have been possible 10, 20 years ago. And they were completely happy about it. And they were, you know, I was leaving the community and they were shaking my hand saying, I hope you have a great time and I hope you and Dana do well. and we're excited for you. And I tell that story all the time because I want people to know that it happens, and it's a great thing, and it needs to happen more. So more and more we talk about our experiences, and the more and more we make people feel comfortable, even just as allies, will, I think, keep us going in the right direction so that the trans community feels more comfortable and can seek help from other members of the community, or not, maybe another ally. So that's kind of my last thing, or not last thing if anybody else has anything for me, but that's my last piece of what I hope and strive the rest of the members do in the Air Force to honestly keep amazing people in the Air Force so that we have great people to fight the war.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Chief, do you have anything else to add, ma'am?
Yeah, just say I wish we could get to a place with talking about our pronouns. And I know I've been in environments, specifically when I was at NSA, where it was just, they were trying to promote the practice of putting your pronouns in your signature block. And I did that for a short while earlier this year, and got called out for it not being an appropriate thing to be in a signature block. You know, our signature block is very prescripted. I think if I was a different rank, like, would it have been called out? You know, I don't think so. You know, it's like policing of signature blocks is a strange thing to me, but hopefully that's something that we could just normalize, because that is a part of our community that is vulnerable. And I think just signaling that, you know, and most of the questions I got about it were kind of curiosity, or, you know, and I got one funny question, and it was somebody I emailed who has a name where they get misgendered a lot just because of their name. They're not transgender, but just because their name can lead to confusion. You know, and that person was like, wow, that's ingenious. So
I was about to say,
just something. Hope we can move it. Yeah, that's all I had.
Thank you, Chief. Did anybody else want to add anything? We still have about 5 minutes left of time.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone, for being on the call.
Hey,
Yeah.
Kat, I'm sorry, this is Captain Eleggy again. I did find the definition for Jimmy. That way we take away with the correct definition. I don't think we actually defined it. It comes from the concept of being described as being halfway between sexual and asexual, and it covers a range of identities under the asexuality umbrella and spectrum, including demisexuality. So I don't know if that cleared it up, but it's something better.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you looking that up.
Learning more.
Definitely. Well, thank you, everybody, for participating and being here and just helping us, you know, maintain our community and being a presence and an ally and showing everybody that might still be in the closet that they're welcome to come out here, and that we have a supportive community, and that, you know, diversity is important.
Yes, ma'am. So it makes our Air Force great, diversity. So
Sure does.
thanks everybody for coming out today for this telePD. We will see you again next week at 10 o'clock. We'll be talking about promotions, strats, and boards, and enlisted career progression. And then the following week, we'll be doing another diversity and inclusion movie. So please check us out for that again, too, at 10 o'clock every Friday. So thanks, everybody. This will be going online, hopefully by Monday, on the Bill Top 3 Facebook page. If you guys want to check it out and share it, have at it. With that, you guys have a great weekend. Bye. Mm-hmm.